Welcome to MANN-O-LOGUES. I'm Dr. Sundra Mann, the creator and host. MANN-O-LOGUES is where life and leadership converge. Enjoy the journey and thank you for listening to MANN-O-LOGUES. Welcome to MANN-O-LOGUES. My name is Dr. Sundra Mann. I am the creator and host. MANN-O-LOGUES is a series of leadership conversations that focus on the intersection of life and leadership and how the two influence and impact each other. I am so excited to have as my guest today Dr. Andraé Townsel. My guest is an award-winning, highly effective school superintendent with a reputation of improving student achievement. He has financial acumen, he's a district-wide transformer, and he has been serving in school districts across Michigan, Maryland, and now Connecticut. Welcome, Dr. Townsel.
Thank you so much. Very happy to be here and start a dialogue with you.
Thank you. So you've accelerated from scholar athlete to leading the top, to being the top executive of a school system. For our listeners who aspire to become a leader at that high achieving level, talk to us a little bit about your journey from starting out. Did you know in high school that this is what you wanted to do? How did all of that start? What was your path to leadership?
Well, great question. So it all started in Detroit, Michigan, where I'm born and raised. Born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. I'm a graduate of Detroit Public Schools. As a student in Michigan, I did have an adverse childhood experience. Very specifically in high school, I went to a charter school for ninth grade. And while at that school, I remember I had an incident whereas I was shot at. Basketball game was let out. They let a bunch of kids out on the parking lot, waiting on our parents to pick us up. And there were houses across the street from the school. Young people were on top of the roof shooting into the crowd. A gentleman in front of me fell, got shot in the leg. And myself personally, the stop sign I was standing at got hit 3 times. So I'm down is across my head, bing, bing, bing. And everyone runs down the street, to the local Burger King, waiting on our parents to pick up. The police ultimately came to our house, took a report, and, we didn't want to talk, nobody wanted to snitch. And then, I had to go to school the very next day. That was my ninth grade experience. And I remember telling my mom, I said, Mom, I'm not learning anything. I don't want to go here. And she said, Well, Andre, what do you want me to do? Long story short, I would happen to be in some type of miracle territory. After my uncles who owned a car wash in Detroit, my brothers and I went to the car wash just to kind of help out, hang out with our uncles, my father, and some coaches pulled up and they were asking, "Hey, who do you guys play for? Y'all some big boys." Like, what do you mean play for? I've never did anything organized in my life as far as playing sports. And he said he was a football coach. So ultimately, we ended up going out of town that summer on a family vacation. And that was the first time that seed was planted. But while out of town, my mother met her childhood friend who was actually, it was so coincidental. That's why I call it miracle territory, who happened to be the offensive line coach at Cass Technical High School in Detroit, Michigan. And that happened to be like the flagship high school in the city of Detroit. And they ultimately let me into that school as a sophomore without the grades. I say that because I had a tough middle school journey, but I was a straight A student in elementary school and I was an excellent artist. So they used my art book and my elementary report cards to justify me going to that school. And ultimately, played on the Cass Tech football team. My 10th grade year, I did not do what I was supposed to do, not showing up, not going to the weight room. Coaches stayed on me. My junior year, started trying to do what I was supposed to do, played my very first game and had a hairline fracture in my left tibia. So first game I ever played against Mumford High School, hairline fracture in my tibia, out for the season. So I really only had my senior year where I played football. The coaches, could put me in rehab, kept me out there. I mean, at that point, I'm 6'4", 300 pounds, offensive lineman, so great size. I played my entire senior year just being a hard worker, hard listener. But one thing I remember is that my coaches, my counselors, my teachers, my principal, they stayed on me very hard. I was working at CVS my senior year, and I was looking to be a truck driver. I did not think about college. Growing up in Detroit, a lot of people work in the big three, GM, Ford, Chrysler. And I was looking, to go into possibly the automotive industry or becoming a truck driver for CVS where I was working. And that's what I thought I had to figure it out. That's what I wanted to do. But the coaches said, hey, you might be able to earn this scholarship opportunity. So, long story short, Howard University offered me a football scholarship, and that changed the trajectory of my future. Now, when I get to Howard, my freshman year, ineligible academically, had the red shirt. So it took me 5 years to get my bachelor's degree. But throughout that journey, I remember the nurturing that I had. Again, there was nothing wrong with me. I just didn't have the appropriate discipline or the right environment to thrive. But at Howard, over those 5 years, I became well-rounded as a student, as an athlete, and as a young man, starting getting there at 18 years old, walking out at 23. I developed who I was, and I started student teaching. I chose the major to be physical education. But let me tell you, so education still has a bad reputation. I never forget. I called home and said, "Mom, I decided to major in my subject area." She said, "Well, what are you majoring in?" I said, "Physical education." She said, "Andre, you went to Howard to become a gym teacher." And I'm like, I have a bachelor's degree. What's the problem? But the expectation was probably to be an engineer or an architect because of the way I draw. But anyway, went into the field of education and I got on a mission. I said, you know what? It's my mission to find Andre. I don't care if you're boy, girl, black, white, blue, yellow. Andre, you think you got it figured out. You think you're going in the direction. I need to be able to positively change the trajectory of young people's future. So that's when I decided to be an administrator. Walking out in undergrad as a gym teacher, my mind was set on high school principal. I just want to be a high school principal. And then as I continued to develop, I went to Howard again for my master's degree. So I got my bachelor's in '07, my master's in '09. And then I sat out a year, decided to play some football. I got picked up by the Canadian Football League. And when I was cut after that first year, I went back to teaching physical education and started a doctoral program at Howard University and received that degree in 2015, all while working every level. I worked as a student teacher, boys and girl basketball coach, football coach, athletic director, dean of students, central office specialist of student discipline and school climate, assistant principal at the high school level, high school principal, and a three-time superintendent. And that's really what it was. It was really seeing how I was, not a bad kid, trying to figure it out, just in a tough situation, thinking I'm going in this direction. And these positive adults that I paid to educate turned me in this direction. It just positively changed the trajectory of my future. And that's truly my leadership journey. And I'll park my bus on this. I have a philosophy that I developed when I was a doctoral student at Howard University. It's called my Raise the Bar philosophy. You can see it on my shirt. I say the goal is to set the bar, meet the bar, exceed the bar, and raise the bar. Rinse and repeat. Do it over and over again. That works in every aspect of your life, your personal life, your athletic life, your academic life. Just set the goal, meet the goal, exceed the goal, raise the goal, go to a whole nother level. And I think I displayed that in the trajectory of my career. I always set the bar for myself. I met it. I exceeded it, and then I turned it up a notch by raising it. And that's the philosophy that I live by. That's the philosophy that I lead with. And that's the message that I like to share.
Wow. What an amazing journey that you have had. I've heard so many leadership lessons in that. The first one is don't let a single event define you, right? And so you persevered through so many things, but you also had great mentorship, great coaching, great leaders who were pouring into you maybe before you even knew what you were going to do. And then
Correct.
once you took hold of that, you just persevered and accelerated. I am just amazed. I hear a great work ethic in there. So many, so many. Oh, we're gonna get into all of this as this conversation continues. So wonderful. And I'm just thinking about a parent who might be listening to this soon and how they might have a student similar to you who they're
Yeah.
not quite sure what to do with and who hasn't found their way yet, or a parent who might not understand why they are so focused on the arts or on sports when they just want them to focus on academics. But you've
Hmm.
proven that being well-rounded helped to propel your journey to leadership. And I'm sure you're using all of the different experiences that you've had along the way and how you lead.
Absolutely. I call it the total package. You got to be good at them all. And also when it comes to, I call it also the triple A's, academics, athletics, and the arts. If you're hitting on all cylinders on those, you have a bright future in front of you. And it's incumbent as a school leader or a district leader to make those opportunities available for your young people because they're fall into one of those categories. And when you say arts, that's language arts, visual arts, performance arts. You know what I mean? Make it available because those enrichment opportunities really add value to a young person's trajectory.
Absolutely. Amazing. Amazing. I am a former school principal, and so I had a similar journey of thinking I was going to go in one direction, and I went to school for business finance. Shout out to all HBCUs. I didn't go to Howard, but I went to Norfolk State University. So I
Right.
definitely, my daughter went to Hampton. So
Cool.
shout out to HBCUs. But I started out in one direction thinking I was going to be this CFO of a major corporation, and it was the calling of teaching
Yeah.
that continued
100%.
that took me out of corporate America and then propelled me on that path of leadership. So I commend you for sticking with it because you could, like, clearly you could have done many other things, but you chose that path. So thank you for that. Wow.
Absolutely.
So an organization such as a school district requires an ecosystem of many smaller organizations, right? That they have to run smoothly, but further turn so thinking about your reputation for being a turnaround educator, one who goes in, they're able to turn situations around. Clearly, you're able to assess a situation, you're able to communicate a compelling vision. Talk to us a little bit about what that work means for you and how you've been able to be successful in it.
You know what? I'll say this. It means a lot to be able to lead people and to lead systems and to, have a vision. But I really say leadership really breaks down to one very, very basic trait, and that's relationship skills. Like you really have to be able to relate to people. You have to be able to meet them where they are or make them feel valuable, make them feel needed, wanted, make them feel like they have value. I'll say this: it's a good book. I encourage every one of your listeners to read it. It's by Dale Carnegie, and I know you probably heard of it. The question is, did you read it? And it's called How to Win Friends and Influence People. Great book because what it does, it breaks things down to the very basic of just treat people the way you want to be treated. A lot of times people get into leadership roles and opportunities and they flex their muscles, they flex their power. They're undermining just because I can't, because I said so. And people are following because of the title and fear. No one's following because of the respect and inspiration. The question is, can people respect your presence and be inspired by the things that come out of your mouth or the steps that you take? And if they are inspired and they do feel like they're bought into the vision, they will work with you and work for you. I think it's important for people to pay attention to leaders such as Mike Tomlin, head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. 19 seasons, never had a losing season because the players want to play for him. They like the coach. They like what he stands for. They respect the man. He inspires them. And what do he get in return? Coach, you would never have a losing season. That's how I feel as a superintendent by the grace of God. I've never had a losing season. I treat people well. I do people right. I treat people the way that I want to be treated. I remember coming up on my trajectory, looking for mentorship and support and, hoping someone would give me the game, let me know what I don't know so I can advance. And then I realized that, once you get that level of ambition, you become competition. And then when you're competition, it's a philosophy that I learned, and I hope your listeners take this away. The powerful would not teach the powerless to take power from them. So what does that mean? That means that the best helping hands you have are right here at the end of your own two arms. And with all the information that's out there, from generative chat GPT to Encyclopedia Britannica to Wikipedia to the internet, Google, all the information is at your fingertip. You have to really invest in yourself and labor with the language, whatever it is you're trying to achieve and accomplish. And that's where you get that added advantage. You become competition when you put out your ambition. So you have to go into the lab and get your credentials and merits up because that's where the respect comes from. It's not always about who people say, oh, it's about who you know. Not when you get to this level because the Board of Education don't know you. They want the best candidate when you talk about superintendency. So the question is, how can you wow them? How can you stand out from the crowd? We all got the hood, we all got on the necktie with the suit, and everybody got the fresh haircut with the cologne and chewing the gum. We all look good. We all have the resume. But when they see you on that video, when you're giving that interview, what make them say, I want to see him again? It's not the resume. It's the authenticity. They feel the inspiration. They can just feel it. And that's what you have to bring. So, really, down to that basic level of treating people the way you want to be treated. And also, when you're with people, when you're around people, making them feel valued, wanted, needed, a part of the team, they'll run through a wall for you. Is Mike Tomlin. I'll end on this good book by Bill Walsh. Don't forget, I was a football player, played in college, had a small professional stint. Bill Walsh, legendary coach, San Francisco 49ers, wrote a book called The Score Takes Care of Itself. And Bill Walsh is a legendary coach because he took over the San Francisco 49ers when they were a losing franchise. He had a roster full of athletes that were not the best of the best, and he developed a spread offense, or the West Coast offense. Some of his critics call it the nickel and dime offense because his quarterback didn't have a strong arm. So he would throw the ball bleep, 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 little 5, 10 yard pops down the field until they got to the end zone. They turned out to be unstoppable. And that was the most replicated offenses ran across the National Football League based off of that risk he took with the underdogs he had. So the score takes care of itself. Bill Walsh said, listen, if you do what you're supposed to do, you do what you're supposed to do, you do what you're supposed to do, I do what I'm supposed to do. When you look up at the scoreboard, it should take care of itself. So what I'm saying to your listeners, do what you're supposed to do, handle what you're supposed to handle, ensure your team do what they're supposed to do. And when you look up at the scoreboard, it takes care of itself. And what's the scoreboard? The promotion. What's the scoreboard? The announcement, the doctoral degree, the graduation. What's the scoreboard? The health goals. The score takes care of itself when you do what you're supposed to do.
Wow. So what I hear in that is lead with integrity and lead with authenticity.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay. I have seen that you have been traveling across your district. So
Yes.
not just checking a box to say you showed up and you visited the school, but you have been reading to students, you have been attending concerts, you have been visiting classrooms. Why is that important to you? And how does it align with your personal core values?
The reason why that is important to me, because most people think, in my opinion, that superintendents are out of touch. We're in the central office, we're in our office. You only show up when the cameras come out, or you only show up when there's an event or a press conference. But I'm of the opinion that you have to have your boots on the ground, feet on the land, hand on the pulse. So when I'm talking in front of a group of teachers or administrators, they're like, nah. No, no, no. You saw me in your place. You saw me in your space. I was in your face. You saw me. So it's no, where have you been? It's no, he's been here. He knows what he's talking. His hand is on the pulse. It's something I developed when I was going through my leadership trajectory called the 3 V's of leadership. And it goes being visible, being vocal, and being vigilant. You hear me, you see me, and you feel me. And when you have all of that out there, you can't be denied that you're actually leading from the front and not within the office. So it's very intentional to, leave the office stuff for after school. I'm in the office when school let out. During the day, I'm at every school. I'm at every event or every partnership opportunity that's promoting the interest of the district. Always just out and in front of people. People don't always want to meet with your cabinet. People don't always want to meet with your deputy. Sometimes they want to see the superintendent. Sometimes they want to see the chief because that chief brings validity to whatever it is that they're saying or whatever it is that they're doing. So it's important to practice those 3 V's of leadership. You got to be visible, you have to be vocal, and they have to see. Let me tell you about visibility. I mean, you only can show up so many places, but sometimes people see you on social media. So make sure your Facebook game is right, your Instagram game is straight, your LinkedIn game is right. How do you know about me? Probably LinkedIn, social media. I'm doing all this great work, but if it wasn't visible, then it's invisible. It never happened. No one ever seen it. So be visible. Now, being vocal, let me be clear about that. You have to be crisp with your mouthpiece, labor with the language, know what you're talking about, be able to articulate your thoughts, ideas, visions, and goals. So, a great communicator, also going back to the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, half the battle is communication. Do you sound clearly? Are you still rough around the edges? And if you are, you're so crystal clear that it just comes off as authenticity, a little rough around the edges, but I know what you're talking about. So there's nothing wrong with that. And being vigilant, like, I'm keep saying the same thing. We're going to set the bar, meet the bar, exceed the bar, and we're raising the bar. And I've been to 3 different school districts saying the same message. So I'm persistent and I'm vigilant with it. So, and I'm doing it with action. I'm boots on the ground, same thing, setting a goal, meeting the goal, passing the goal, new goal to set as we move forward. So really being authentic, really being in the work, sleeve rolled up, feet on the land, and working alongside the people, the team. I don't care what role you have, teacher, custodial, paraprofessional, principal, assistant principal, teacher, teacher assistant, whatever role, front office assistant, executive assistant, whatever role you have, executive director, it plays a part. And we need you to run through a wall in your own division. Let me say, there is no I in team. I need all of us because if you do what you're supposed to do, you do what you're supposed to, you do what you're supposed to, the score takes care of itself. But I want to win. The I is in the win. So that in your individual self, by yourself, on your own time, what extra work are you putting in? Are you just relying on the district professional development, or are you reading books on your own time with regards to pedagogy and the science of teaching and learning? Are you reading on your own time when it's about leadership, how to win friends and influence people? What are you doing on your own time? Did you not go to the conference or pay for the membership because the district wouldn't pay for it? Next level. Next level is that you invest in yourself. And that was one of the things that I did. I truly invested in myself. When my district didn't have it, I had it because it was necessary to do what I needed to do to get where I wanted to be. And I parked my bus on that.
That is wonderful. No one will ever champion you the way that you need to champion yourself, right? And
Correct.
if you don't invest in yourself, why should others invest in you? So absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So it's a wonderful segue rather, to my next question that I had around. So you've traveled across these different school districts and other organizations. As you shared, you've even been outside of the school system as you played in the Canadian Football League, etc. So are there any leadership routines or policies that you've consistently carried with you across these different environments, or that you've gained, that you continue to, that have become a staple to who you are?
Yeah, you know what I say? So I'm the type of person, by the grace of God, I've always had the privilege of being selected in school districts that truly needed support. But I've always been of the philosophy that if you're a true leader, you don't always have to walk in the door with a team. The question is, whatever you see, can you analyze it enough? Work with what you have and define the needs from there. Because you have to think jobs, people are in these jobs. Are people's lives and careers. Some people work very hard to be an assistant superintendent or to be a deputy or to be the chief financial officer. And when the new leader come in, a lot of time they come in and reconstitute the staff. No, I need my person with me. No, I need they got, that's somebody I can trust. Well, let me tell you a little story about trust. And let me break it down like this. There's water, there's fire, and there's trust. And they're walking into the forest. And the person says, "Hey, water, wait, if I lose you, what do I do?" And water said, "If you lose me, wherever you see grass growing in the ground, that's where I be." He said, "Fire, what about if I lose you?" Fire said, "If you lose me, if you look up in the sky, wherever you see smoke, that's where I be." He said, "Trust, okay, now if I lose you, what do I do?" Trust said, "Hey, hey, hey, hold it. If you lose me, you may not ever find me again. Don't lose me. Don't lose the trust." So in leadership, a lot of time when you walk in with a team of people, people off top probably do not trust you because you don't even know me and you let me go. I could have been the best thing for you with the institutional knowledge that I have, and you let me go. So now you done put me over here, and now I'm probably going to undermine you. Or I won't tell you where the bodies are buried. I won't tell you where the landmines are. But if you walk in and inherit the team and say, hey, listen, before I got here, education was happening. Good things have happened. Obviously, there's a change. Let's find this together and let's take it to a whole nother level. We're going to raise the bar. And people learn you. They understand your philosophy, your leadership style. They feel good. They don't feel undermined. They don't feel bossed around. Hey, I trust this guy. Let's go. And that's how it goes. Walking in with the team that you have, inherit what you have, and put your leadership to the test. Can you win friends and influence people because you walk into the door? You need an entourage. You ever see people walk with an entourage? You don't feel good when you see somebody with an entourage. Like, man, who are you? You only important because you got your boys with you. If you was by yourself, can you stand on your own 2 feet? And that's how I look at leadership. I walk in the door standing on my own 2 feet, 10 toes down, new team saying, hey, listen, this is the direction that we're going in. And if you want to get on board, all aboard. If you have an issue with it or a concern, that's your freedom of choice. Your freedom to choose whatever route you like to take. But this is the direction that we're going in. So that's truly, truly my philosophy going into every district is respecting those that come before me. And I don't care if you're younger than me, older than me. If you've been there 30 days before I got that, respect that you've gotten here before I did. And someone saw value in you enough to put you in position. I just happen to be the leader in place. I cannot undermine what you already come to the table with. It's like being the new head coach and they say, hey, this happens to be the quarterback that you inherit. I'm like, okay, cool. Throw a couple of balls. Let me see what you can do. I'm not like, no, no, no. I need my quarterback. My quarterback could get me where your quarterback might get injured. Your quarterback might not be the best person. So take who you have and see what you have from there, and then you develop. I call it a listening and learning tour. A part of me coming into the door of a community and not bringing my own team is so I can just evaluate how the team is operating before I got there. And that's where the extra information comes from down the line.
So you are clearly a person of stature, right? 6'4". I think you
Yeah,
said you
about
six.
6'5",
Six.
300 pounds,
Okay, all right,
290.
okay, all right, all right. You have a commanding voice. You are a clear communicator, and you have a presence, right? You've also had great success in many areas. Tell us about a time when things just didn't quite go as you planned. Maybe someone couldn't see all that I just named and they already formed a judgment, or you envisioned it to go one way, but it went a different way. Without any details, without any
Oh, yeah.
names, what are some of the lessons that you learned in those situations?
Great question. That's a deep one. I'm gonna tell you why. Because here's the deal. I'm a young black man in education. And if you look across the landscape of education, not a lot of young black men in education. And you hear a lot of research and a lot of conversation about where are the black men in education. Well, we go into education and then we're young black men with the culture that we walk into the table with, and it's a turnoff. They counsel you out for whatever the reason is. For some reason or another, you are not renewed, or you're not highly effective, or you may not climb the ladder because, yeah, you have this job, but you are not advanced because I'm not sure how much I like you or how much I can trust you. All of those things happened to me. I'll never forget. I started my teaching journey at a charter school, 3 years. I'm killing it. I started a doctoral program. I'm the football coach, basketball coach. I'm doing it. But you know what, Dr. Townsend, we're going in another direction. Another direction. I'm first round draft pick as a gym teacher. Another direction. No explanation. Another direction. So I'm like, okay, I understand. So now, I want to climb my trajectory going into administration. And the conversation is, woo, we would love to have you at such and such school because you can be the dean over there and get the discipline together. A lot of times, look at it. The football coaches, those 6'4" brothers and big burly brothers, they probably are deans. Or if they're assistant principal, they're probably in the roughest, toughest schools doing intervention. No one sees you as an instructional leader. No, you're too big. We need you to keep him in line, keep him in shape. And I'm like, you know what? I can also do that from the academic side because it's a total package. Yeah, I can teach you the discipline XYZ, but I can teach you mathematics. I can teach you how to read and write at a high level, get your proficiency scores up. And a lot of times I was not seen as that. And the last thing, something I absolutely could not control was my age. You're not ready. You're too young. Wait your turn. You're not there yet. And I'm like, well, dang, I can't control experience, but I can control credentials. So then I just stack the plate because time is going to pass. So 31-year-old Andre, once upon a time, would be 41-year-old Andre. And here's a funny story. Very funny. Not a lot of people know this. 2016, I applied to be a principal in Hartford Public Schools. Did not get a job. 9 years later, CEO, Hartford Public Schools. You cannot create more time, but within that time, you can create more value. So the value you did not see in me then is not the value that I come with today because the level up was on a whole nother level. I was just I controlled what I could control. And here I am coming to you as a three-time superintendent, successful, award-winning, all, and. They're like, we got to have them on the team. 9 years ago, I wasn't even considered for a school. Now I got 39 that I'm in, that I have the privilege of serving. And I think that's very important for people to say, well, dang, if you 9 years ago, were you that bad? What did not, wow, no, I had my doctorate, had the superintendent certification. I was young. I couldn't control it, but they couldn't control me. Still had the freedom of mind, freedom of thought. And I did all those things. And by the grace of God, I'm so privileged and so blessed to even be able to share that story because I'm so proud of where I come from. I couldn't even get a school 9 years ago. Now I have the district today, and we're going in the right direction.
That right there is something that's going to inspire someone who may be feeling a little weary in their leadership, maybe feeling a little exhausted in their journey because they've been sending out resumes, they've been applying for jobs. So whether it's in education or some other type of organization, they have been trying, but your story that you just shared is going to help propel someone to keep moving forward and to keep them going. Thank you for sharing that. So
Absolutely.
we got an exclusive here at MANN-O-LOGUES. We got an exclusive. I love it. I love it. I love it. What does rest and renewal look like for you?
What is what?
Rest and renewal. A little,
Rest and renewal.
yes. What does that
That's
look like for you?
how do I rest? You know what? It's funny. So I rest on the boat. A lot of my resting and recharging happened, when I can take the boat out on the water. When I was in DC at the time, I just go on the Potomac River and just cruise. When I was in Benton Harbor, I would just be out on Lake Michigan cruising. Out here in Connecticut, I just got here, so I haven't had a chance to take the boat out. But please believe I'm looking at every shoreline, seeing where I can go find that rest and relaxation. Also, running and working out, or I'm still a young man who like to play with a young son. I get on my video game, get a little Call of Duty going on, and just get lost and just fun and still being young and youthful and still doing the thing. It's so interesting. I talk to my siblings sometimes, say, dang, you know what? Dang, I'm 41, but in my head, I still feel like I'm 18. Like I don't, like your brain doesn't age, right? You get a lot more information, but you don't have aches and cracks in your brain, right? So I still feel youthful in the mind. So some of the things that entertain me as a young person still entertain me today, like video games. But I've developed new entertainment, like being a skipper and driving a boat. So really just finding that me time. And believe it or not, I'm naturally an introvert. Like to be by myself. I like to just chill and mind my business. A huge UFC fan, so if there's an opportunity to watch the fights on the UFC network or ESPN and now on Paramount, or if I have an opportunity to go to a fight, that's what I do. I enjoy that. And why the UFC? The UFC is the Ultimate Fighting Championship, and the reason why I'm a huge fan of that is because every individual that fights there are in charge of their journey, and every last one of them want to be a champion, but they're clawing their way by literally fighting to be the best in the martial arts that they're in the weight class that they're in, and there's no way, either you're good or you're not, and if you're good and if you're great, you become the champion. So I'm always looking at what is my championship, and I'm a three-time champion in the superintendent space. I got the opportunity three times over, but what people do not know is that behind every win, there's probably a lot of losses. So while I'm, yes, the CEO and superintendent of Hartford Public Schools, nobody know about the 5 jobs that did not choose me. For whatever reason, it's so competitive. You're a finalist here, a finalist there, and sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't, but you only need the one yes That one yes is that one opportunity. You can't work in 20 jobs. Yeah, you put in 20 applications, but only one is going to choose you. So don't get discouraged in the no. Just know that there's a ratio for the yes. You only need one yes to whatever those no's are. So just secure the yes.
Oh, I love that. It's that one yes that can just change everything for you. All right.
Yeah.
For everyone who's listening, just wait for that one yes, that one yes. I was reading a post from the head of the Human Resources Society, right, for SHRM. And he said this: the greatest gift of leadership is having a boss who wants you to be successful. The greatest gift of leadership is having a boss who wants you to be successful. What does that look like in action for you?
You know what? A boss that wants you to be successful. Personally, for me as a superintendent, my boss is the Board of Education, and I'm in my strongest form or my best element when they support me. But also, I do know that the teachers, the superintendents, excuse me, the teachers, the principals, or the directors and chiefs that I lead, they have to know that I support them. So all of my cabinet members or executive cabinet members, when they have professional development opportunities they like to pursue, I always support it. Whenever there's, hey, Dr. Townsend, I want to put in this application. Would you be a reference? I always say yes, even if they're on my team and my number two, because I'm letting you know, listen, I really want you to be great while you're here. But if you think you got to go, I still want you to be great over there too. And because I believe of treating people how I want to be treated, I never want to be in a position where I'm looking for a job and someone don't want to give me a job because they want to keep me in their cage. Never that. Always support and always show that love because it's always going to come back because the reputation gets around. Oh no, he's good to work for. He's a good superintendent to work for. Oh, he's a good leader. It always comes back around. People always ask, what kind of person is he? Is he hard to work for? And if the answer is no, then people want to be on your team. The amount of messages from emails to text messages to DMs on social media. A lot of people say, I want to work for you, Doc. I want to work for you, Doc. I want to work for you, Doc. It's not because you just see a post. It's also because you know people that know people that know people. And a lot of times your reputation precedes you. So the goal is to treat people how you want to be treated. If you want your supervisor and your bosses to respect you, to honor you, to support you on your endeavors, you must do that to the individuals that support you or that work for you and work with you. You have to. It's like they say, I'd rather you, like when I send my educators to professional developments, my mentality is I'd rather you have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So always of that mindset of whatever it is that you think will add value to you while you're doing your job, I'm always going to invest in it because you think it's going to work for you. So I'm going to support you on that.
I love that. I love that. So it's if they win, you win, right? And the
100%.
whole entire organization wins. I
If
love
I
that.
win, you win. Just like
Yeah.
that. If I win,
Yeah.
you win.
That's
Just like
right.
that.
Adding a little theme in the background for
Oh,
this
yeah.
segment right here. I love it. I love it. So, school improvement, right? So, as a former principal, I'm very familiar. I've written many SIP plans over the years, and I also know it doesn't happen overnight, right? So sometimes it takes a couple years to achieve the desired results, but you're working hard every day to get in there and make things happen. So, when you reach the end of this first year, in your current role, how will you measure your success? So when the last school bus pulls out and you have a moment to reflect and the teachers are packing up and everyone's getting ready to go on vacation, how are you going to sit back and measure how this first year went?
Wow, that's a good one. I think it was Jay-Z who said men lie, women lie, but numbers don't. If the numbers said you sold a million records, you sold a million records. When this situation here, I think is whatever the numbers say. So what numbers is looking at the attendance of your teachers, looking at the attendance of your building leaders, looking at the achievement of each individual leader's school, each classroom teacher's class, is looking at the numbers. The numbers talk. If things go up or down, it means good or bad. If you get on the scale and you're up 12 pounds, That's probably bad. If you get on the scale and get down 12 pounds, you probably hit some type of goal. So the question is, what number is what I consider success? And I think at a level when I'm coming in August of 2025, if it took me 100 days to do a listening and learning tour, still working collaboratively with the board as far as our goals are concerned, balancing a budget that's, been for 10 years in a deficit. The question is probably looking at how the relationships are with the power dynamics from faith-based leaders to elected officials. The success is probably looking at the attendance of your teachers and students alike. Success is probably looking at trends academically, because although we want improved proficiency at all levels, when you come in late like that, the question, can you truly gauge it? And whatever those numbers are that year, that benchmark should set the bar for the following year in which you're trying to raise. So I think at a very tangible level and a basic level that really makes sense, kind of apples to apples, I'll say look at the engagement of the adults. I have very engaged with the school community, the commitment to the school community and the district as a whole. I think that's my true measure of success, the morale, because that set the tone.
Absolutely. So then what is your long-term vision? What's your long-term vision for your district?
Long-term vision for my school district is to increase academic achievement every single year. And I'm talking about whatever metric that the state of Connecticut judges by, equal or greater value. The question is the district better because I'm leading it? And is your school better because you're leading it? Is your classroom better because you're leading it? Looking at those very basic things. So over time, seeing our student achievement go up percentage-wise, looking at proficiency. And I would say this, even if it goes up 1% every single year, we went up in the right direction. So just long as we are moving in the right direction as far as numbers increasing, as far as young people being proficient or advanced in English, math, science, looking at our PSAT scores, if those go up every single year, that's what I define success.
That is wonderful. So with all that you have you're leading this district, you have family, and sometimes somehow you have found time to do something else. So you were recently named the president of the National Alliance of Black School Educators. I am a former chapter president in Maryland. So NAPSE is an organization that's older than you. It's 55 years old. It was born from actually a dissertation, someone's dissertation in the 70s, right? And so they had this idea as they were studying the very rare Black superintendent
Mhm.
to bring it together and to have folks come along. So in this current time, when you think about the dismantling of equity initiatives, the dismissal of DEI leadership positions, help our leaders understand why organizations such as NAPSE are important and why did you say yes?
Great question. So the reason why organizations like the National Alliance of Black School Educators, it's important because I mean, representation matters. A lot of times, I mean, as a superintendent in Connecticut or in the country, I believe Black superintendents are still less than 2% of the workforce. So the question is, where is my affinity group? When the block gets hot, who do I go to cool down? And you need that support. So I think it's really a nice space where predominantly the workforce is not of the minority with regards to ethnicity. So you really have to find those individuals that are doing great work so you can align those great best practices. Because a lot of times what we come to the table with is all cultural. When you think of athletes, some of the best athletes train together all the time. And then the top ones or the elite ones emerge from those groups and become the pros and the professionals. I look at education the exact same way. To be the best teacher I needed to be in a space where they were the best teachers. People don't know I joined 2000, I joined NAPSE or went to my first conference in 2008 when Dr. Lois Harrison Jones, a former past president of the National Alliance of Black School Educators, was my professor teaching workshop on leadership development. Dr. Russell Jackson, my professor at Howard University, and them constantly pointing to that as an affinity group to be the best you can possibly be in the field of education with the best practices from people that look and sound just like you. And the reason why that's important because that's a cultural cultural thing. When you talk about being culturally responsive, sometimes it's very difficult to adopt the style of people from other cultures. Yeah, you can kind of get the main pillars of what it means to be a great leader, but to see it in action, I need to watch Allen Iverson dribble the ball between his leg and do the crossover so I can do the crossover. Because sometimes that just need to be around him. Or I need to watch Michael Jordan do the fadeaway so I can do the fadeaway. I need to be around him. So that's why it's important to me. I'm in the room with the best and brightest. And a lot of times when you have educators traveling across the country at least one time a year, engaging, those are those ambitious, high achieving educators because that's an investment. If their district are not paying for it, they're coming out of their own pockets to pay for it. So being around some of the best and brightest in the field is very, very necessary. There was a second part to the question. I apologize if I missed it.
I just asked you, why did you say yes?
Okay. The reason why I said yes to accepting the nomination of president-elect for the National Alliance of Black School Educators is because once I've been around for a while, all through Howard University and having multiple past presidents and a founder at my alma mater pouring into me to say, you know what, Dr. Townsel, this would be a great opportunity for you to consider our nomination to serving as a possible board member as president-elect. So once I got the green light from a Dr. Lois Harrison Jones that said, you'll be great. I mean, that gave me all the confidence in the world. I look up to her. And for those that are listening, if you don't know Dr. Lois Harrison Jones, she's a past president of the National Alliance of Black School Educators, but she's also the first Black female superintendent of Richmond Public Schools and the first Black female superintendent of Boston Public Schools. And in fact, I believe last year, Richmond named an elementary school after Dr. Lois Harrison Jones. So she's a legendary guru in the space of educational leadership as a superintendent. And she taught me so much through Howard University. I mean, she accepted me into the doctoral program. She gave me my first F in the doctoral program. She told me to drop her class because I can't figure. I mean, she was on my head, but she really nurtured me. She really kept me under her wing. And she said, you know what, you're not going to embarrass us, Dr. Townsend. When you get out there, you're going to be him. Otherwise, you ain't getting out of here. So, being under that type of leadership, that type of care, and that type of love, when I got that blessing, I said, absolutely. Because if that would make them proud, that's all I want to do is make them proud.
I love that. So her F wasn't for failure. Her F was for faith in that you could do better. See, that's what
100%,
that was. That's
100%.
what that was. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So I don't know if he is related to you or not, but from 1973 to 1975, there was a Dr. Charles W. Townsel who was one of the early presidents. Are you related, or is that a
He's the
wonderful
first
sign?
president. You know what, Dr. Mann, if you can help me find that out, I have no clue. I have no idea. My last name, Townsend, is not common at all. I mean, you might see Townsend with two L's, you might see Townsend, Send, but Townsend with one L. I mean, I'm sure there got to be something along the lines. I would love to. I maybe need to do a 23andMe or Ancestry.com because I need to know that because it's crazy. That means what was that, 53 years ago? He was the first. And if the good Lord see fit that I take off it, I'll be the 26th president of the National Alliance of Black School Educators. I would like to find that out. If somebody can help us figure that out, I think that'd be cool.
I think it's amazing. Whether you are related by blood or by spirit, I think it is divine. And I think that definitely it is something that was supposed to happen. Oh,
Wow.
that is wonderful. So as we get ready to wrap up, I want you to take a moment to reflect on Andre as a first leader. So before you became Dr. Townsell, when you were still molding what your future might look like, I want you to think about what advice you would give someone who was just starting out. And then I'm going to ask you to think about advice that you would give to someone who is a little further in your career and how you might encourage them to keep going.
Okay. So the first one, I would say for someone just starting out, my advice would be um, do all of the small things, meaning I call it small because it's the basics. Get the degree, get the credentials, take the test, get the certification, and then everything you do while in practice, while you're working, always do things in good faith, never have an agenda, never be on the wrong side of politics. Don't be a part of the clique. Be okay to stand on your own and develop your philosophy because leaders are one of one. So if you in a whole pack of people, are you following? I don't know. So a leader is a leader. So do the small things, always work in good faith and treat people how you want to be treated and keep going. Don't stop. Even when you get the no, that no is necessary for another yes, because you thought that that was for you, but the divine power might have had something else in place for you. You just couldn't see it. So always be in good faith. Now, for the veteran, here's the deal. At this point, there is no perfect time. Get going. There's a difference between one day and day one. Start now. Someone said, you know what, Dr. Townsel, I will go back to school and get my master's degree, but by the time I go back to school and get my master's degree, I'll be 45. I'm like, wow, you're going to be 45 anyway. Just get it going. Don't even think about it. Get it going right now. So listen, and we all have our beware your potential has an expiration date. Because while you're sitting there contemplating and thinking and wondering and not putting in the application, someone just put in the application and they might be ahead of you. So just get started and trust yourself. You didn't got this far. If you want to keep going, keep going.
Thank you for that. Thank you. It has been a pleasure to talk with my guest today, Dr. Andraé Townsel, who is an educator, leader extraordinaire, has done so many great things thus far, and we look forward to continuing to follow you and see all the great things that you are going to do in the future. I wish you an amazing wrap up to your school year. Look forward to just seeing your post and all the great things that continue to happen. May the blessings continue to shower upon you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure, Dr. Sundra Mann, and look forward to watching this one to come out.
Yes, absolutely. Whether you're stepping into leadership for the first time or reimagining what it means after decades in the field, I hope you've been inspired by our conversation today. Thank you for listening to MANN-O-Logues.